I am here with Sarah Kaufman. She's going to be fighting at Invicta FC 29, May 4th in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm going to be fighting for the vacant bantamweight title in Invicta. The last time we spoke, you were thinking maybe there'd be a couple of fights before going for the belt. Were you surprised at this coming together this quickly after your return to the promotion?
I can't really say surprised. I just want to be as active as I can be and get good fights and exciting fights and really fights that I'm excited to train for and that I'm hoping to showcase something else in my skill set, whether it's a crazy knockout, whether it's speed, whether it's power, whatever it is. Every fight I'd like to try and challenge myself in some way. So the title fight came up as soon as I left the cage. She had announced, so what about title in May? And I said, well, if we can do it sooner, great. Otherwise, May will work. And so here we are a week out from the fight.
Now, your opponent here, obviously I would expect an undefeated fighter to be exciting for you. She hasn't fought the level of competition that you have, but what does Katharina bring in terms of a challenge for you?
I don't think it really matters who they've fought, in terms of my opponents. For sure, I've fought, the cream of the crop, if you will. But that being said, I feel like every fighter I've ever fought has shown up at their absolute best when they fight me. And so that's how I look at, this fight and every fight is that Lehner is going to show up at her absolute best. She's going to be better than she's ever been, which pushes me to ensure that I'm better than I have ever been.
Now, one thing that kind of dawned on me here is, your last opponent, Penny, she missed weight for that fight in January. Lehner missed weight for her Invicta fight last year. Her only fight since then has been at featherweight. Are you at all worried about her coming in heavy?
I didn't even know that the fight since then has been at featherweight. I feel like Shannon wouldn't book a fight with someone at bantamweight for the title if she thought that she was going to miss weight. I know that Lehner has been down training with the Jackson camp for the last few weeks. I'm sure that she has it dialed in, and I can't worry about that particularly. I can only make sure that I do what I can on my end to make weight, be in shape, feel strong, and really showcase, again, like some raw power, some explosiveness, and that fight style that got me to my first championship is going to win my third championship.
I wanted to ask because it's been a while since Strikeforce, but in comparison going into this title fight, how are you feeling?
I don't know if I'd say in comparison. I really feel like we've dialed in, over the years. I've been training with Adam Zuzek, who's been my coach since the beginning, and I feel like we've dialed in and we have a really good partnership with where I need to be, what I need to do. I trust him implicitly, so if I say, do you want me to do more today? Like, do you want me to do another round? What do you want? And if he says, no, that's it, I'll ask him 2 or 3 more times just to ensure that he actually means it. And then I try and respect that and listen to that so that I don't overtrain. But I'm feeling my conditioning, my strength with the same coach I've been using, Tyler Goodale, has really peaked, and I couldn't, there's very little that I could ask to be better heading, into 70s out.
Now,
I feel like that didn't really answer your question. But in comparison, I feel very good, but I don't think that there are many fights that I haven't felt very good going into.
And, I figure at this point, with the wealth of experience that you have, nerves are a thing of the past. I can't see this really almost being any different than any other fight for you, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I've never been the person who has been extremely nervous before fights. For sure, I definitely, this morning, I was like, 7 days and, the fight's going to happen. And, next, one more Saturday and the following Saturday, the fight's going to be over. And, I'm planning on bringing that belt back. So I have those little things where it's like, okay, 5 more sleeps. And as the fight comes, like 48 hours, the fight's going to be over. And, definitely fight week, like you think about it a lot. You think about what can I do? How can I be more prepared? But I feel mentally I'm in a really good place. Duke Rufus is going to be in my corner again for this fight, and he has a really good mental approach to the game, and I really like that while Adam has that same approach, I know him so well that sometimes when you hear from somebody else and somebody else is telling you, you are the best, you are a killer, you're in there, you like to fight, you're ferocious, all these things. Like, you know what I do? I do, and I know all these things, but I feel mentally that just like that lead up and that build up, I expect a lot from myself, and my team expects a lot from me, and I think that's very fair and very justified. So there are, of course, always the feelings of wanting to live up to that and wanting to push yourself and that pressure that's behind you to win the fight and win the next fight, because the next fight is the most important fight of your life, because they all are, that it never fully goes away, but I have never been an overly nervous person. So my biggest focus is staying mentally focused and trying to eliminate as much doubt as I can while still being realistic in that, one punch or one kick or a slip in the cage or a moment of weakness could take everything away from you. So I think it's good to have a healthy amount of trepidation and fear per se to ensure that you show up at your best. So I still get that, but I've never been someone who throws up in a bucket or, who gets nervous sweats for hours and days before.
Cautious but not nervous, maybe.
Cautious, focused, determined, and then also very respectful of what it means to step in the cage and what it means for someone else to be coming towards you, and acknowledge that there are risks, and those risks potentially could kill you. So get in there and leave everything out there and put your best fist forward, if you will, to ensure that you can leave as safe as possible.
Now, I'm certain you're going to put your best fist forward come May 4th. You did mention bringing the title home. I'm just curious, and I probably know the answer, but Invicta's gone on the road a little bit this year. They've gone to Utah. They've talked about moving around. Any talk of a Canadian date for you?
I haven't talked to them about that. I don't know, honestly, what their plans are. I think most of them are based in the States, but it would be amazing to bring it to Canada. I mean, Victoria itself has a really good venue that, would be a good size that we could probably fill pretty easily. But I'm sure there are a lot of other factors when it comes to visas and permits and whatever else that comes along with that. So I would love for Invicta to come to Canada. I'd love, just to fight for any promotion within Canada. Any of the major promotions within Canada. I know the UFC's, I just was looking at the Calgary card. There's lots of awesome female fights that are going on there. So, Canada loves fighting. Really, really big fan base here. And it's definitely nice to give back and fight in front of your home country, or your hometown crowd would be even better.
Now, speaking of the UFC, and without trying to put you in a situation where you need to be too diplomatic, we've seen a lot of Invicta champions jump over almost immediately. I know the last time we spoke, obviously you felt that your talents belong there. We saw you backstage at UFC 219, I believe it was. But if all goes well, would you prefer to maybe defend once or twice, or if you got the opportunity, jump back as quickly as you can?
That's a hard call. To stay as active as I can be, but I also want to be getting paid what I'm worth, and also fighting the best that are in the world. And right now, a lot of are signed to the UFC. So I definitely, that would be ideal. Would be to get the Invicta title and at some point fight for the UFC title, and then I could have had 4 titles, which is pretty phenomenal. But I can't really just look past what's happening next week, and so my job right now, perform next week and perform, not to squeak out a win, but really show up and really enjoy fighting like I did in January. And I think that's going to lead to great opportunities, whether it's defending the title or, to fight for the UFC. I know that the bantamweight title between Nunes and Pennington is the week following my fight. So there's a lot of action happening there. And I mean, I look at their top 10, their top 15, and I'm so confident in beating everyone that's on that roster. So I guess in short, I don't know, but I know that I want to be the best in the world. That's why I'm in this game. And right now the best is, in the UFC, and that's those are the fighters who are currently considered the best. And so that's where I want to test my skills as much as I can. But I love Invicta, and I love how they support their athletes. And so I just don't know. In short, I don't know.
Now, you mentioned being confident, against the top 10 in bantamweight, and that's another thing that I wanted to bring up to you, because strawweight's kind of been the popular kid the last couple of years. Ronda retired, Misha retired, Holly's gone to featherweight mostly, it seems. Does it kind of seem like 135 has fallen off a little as far as popularity and where the focus is?
I just think of it, with Ronda and Holly and Misha and kind of how that works, because they have all kind of moved to different divisions. I do think that bantamweight really needs an injection of life. It needs some excitement, a spark. It needs, it needs me. It needs other fighters who are like me, who want to get in there, who want to fight, who want to show up. And I mean, granted, when my fights in the UFC in the past weren't as exciting or weren't as, ferocious or focused or determined as I was in the past and as I am now. I kind of had, a downward lull in my career there. And I really feel that at this point in time, the UFC bantamweight division really needs me. And they need other fighters who are, Pani Kianzad. Granted, she currently is on hopefully she gets back to a win next week. But, I mean, she's an exciting fighter to watch. She's game. She comes into the fight. Those are the kind of fighters that we need fighting in the division, and fighters who want to stay active. And I'm all for, anyone starting a family. Pena's out. She's pregnant right now. Like, that's amazing for her. But she's still ranked in the top of the division, yet she hasn't fought and won't be fighting for quite a while. So they need to have names who are active, who are fighting, who are wanting to fight, who are hungry to get to that title shot, who are hungry to get matched up. And I feel like I am that person. But again, May 4th is my current priority.
Now, you mentioned that slump that you had. Was there any particular reason for it? Was it a mental thing? Was it just luck of the draw?
I think it happens in careers, in life, in everything that goes on, even in the day. You have ups, you have downs. And I think a lot of it was mental. I don't think it's ever been a skill issue. I think a lot of it was mental. I think, the political, I think, you can let too many things sit on you, and, you worry about too many things that are out of your control in most senses, that I think I was doing that, and I was, I can't fully explain it, but I think a lot of it had to do with mentally where I was and how I felt about different things, regarding the standings in the UFC and, where I was respected or not respected, or, even trying to get fights. And it was super hard and super frustrating. The number of times I'd be begging for every single fight that would come about, and I would never get them. And partially, and I know why, and I understand why from a business sense, because at the time, Ronda was undefeated. She's their main money maker. And so it was, who can we have fight who can eventually fight and challenge Ronda? And because I had already done that, and I was a tough matchup for almost everyone else, it didn't leave me with many options. And so it was actually great. When Holly won, I mean, I was super happy for a good friend, and it opened up the division for me to actually get in there. And then unfortunately, I lost a split decision, a month later, and then that was the last fight on my contract. So, that was actually a big turning point for where I was like, relief. Like, if I can just get back on track, this is going to be my opportunity, because now there isn't that block at the top where, I'm the funnel point where if people fight me and lose, they can't go on to fight Ronda. So I was kind of at like a weird, I don't know, crevasse or something where I was way down there and I just couldn't really climb back out, partially from my performances and partially because I wasn't really given the opportunities. So, I need to make the most of everything, and I wasn't at the time, but moving forward, I definitely am, and mentally I'm like, steamrolling ahead here.
It does feel like a big year for you, because you got active again after, struggling to find fights. You're getting the title shot. Yeah, you even got paid by Battlefield, apparently.
I got paid! Wow. It was a bonus. It was awesome.
But all kidding aside, it does feel kind of like a pivotal moment in your career. Do you kind of feel that?
I absolutely feel that. The momentum, I feel, is in my favor. And again, I think my mentality has really, risen and changed. And, I definitely try and, I guess I shouldn't even say try, for what I'm about to say, but my goal at this point is to make statements just even inwardly for myself that are positive, that are focused, that are goal-driven, career-driven. I will be getting the title. I'm going to come back to this hotel room with a win. Experience. I do have the talent. I have the skill set. I have the mindset. I have the fitness. I have all the pieces. So I just, show up and do it. And as I say before, I'm a realist. So I'm like, well, they could do this and they could win, and they, that does open the door a little bit for being like, oh, well, maybe they're amazing. Like, yes, maybe they're amazing, but I have to know, and, my team knows that, like, I'm the better one. So, I need to carry myself in that manner. So right now, that's the biggest thing that I'm trying to revamp about myself is having that like inner confidence where I don't have to be in everyone's face, but, know for myself that I've done the work and I have the skill set. So why shouldn't I leave the winner? Why should I give them any chance? Like, just don't even entertain it. So that's where I'm trying to go right now.
All right. Now, I wanted to take a step back almost. Going to a fighter, actually, you have two wins over, one in the UFC, Leslie Smith. We just saw some weirdness in Atlantic City. I was actually down there for the weigh-in, and the early weigh-in, and it was really kind of a bizarre turn of events with her, leaving. No one was sure if she was going to fight. Comes back, talks to the commission, was backstage for a while, and the next thing we know, she's out of the UFC. They've paid her out, and her contract's done. I'm just kind of curious, because we did talk briefly and touch on fighter pay and unions and those issues last time we spoke. Does seeing something like that, with them taking that approach, does that kind of have a chilling effect on you? In the end, like, hey, maybe I shouldn't speak out about this stuff?
I think it's, every circumstance is its own somewhat unique circumstance. And it definitely has the appearance of, you make waves and you get washed, away from the shore. So I don't really know where that will lead and what that will do. I know that Leslie was, of course, very adamant about Project Spearhead. But so was Ally Aquinta. And, Ally Aquinta got a title shot and on, a few hours' notice, really. So, I think it depends on circumstance and depends on where things are. It is just a bizarre situation, to pay, show, and fight and win money, and be done. But I don't really know where that even leaves Leslie, like whether, she does have a legal leg to stand on when it comes to what she's trying to get and trying to say, the whole union supporters, or not even union supporters. I don't know the right name for it. I'm sure it'll scare some people, but I am also sure that there are lots of others who are willing to be strong and and push forward. And unfortunately, I think in the world, in terms of organization and unions and policy change and steps forward in society, there have been lots of people who have been even people who have been jailed for pushing for rights for different minorities and groups, and later on they're viewed as something of an anomaly, and they're revered, but they are persecuted for essentially speaking out. Maybe this is one of those instances where Leslie, in trying to organize people, and maybe I think that they said that they're close to collecting the cards that they need to collect. Maybe in doing so, it will help propel it forward and will provide something better for the fighters where they have more options. Maybe it won't. So I just don't know enough about kind of the back end of things to really know where that's going, or where it would have gone, or what's going on.
Fair enough, and definitely going to be one to keep an eye on. But so is Invicta FC 29 on May 4th. I'm going to finish with one more question. How does this fight go down in the main event?
I'm never very good at predictions. But, the one thing that I will say is I'm going to bring everything that I have and attempt to bring it for every minute of the round. Not bring it on the fourth round, bring it on the fifth round, but, right at the start, I want to really push forward and not entertain anything of what she's doing, and just fight my fight and, leave with my hand raised. It's been quite a while since I've had a finish, and they're right there for me, and it's going to be right there for me. So I want to take that finish when it presents itself and get my hand raised, preferably before the finishing bell.
All right. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that. I want to see you bring that title home to Canada. You are one of the top female mixed martial artists, one of the top mixed martial artists here in Canada. And it's actually kind of crazy. We could have, Julia Budd's a champion in Bellator. Valerie Letourneau could be a champion in Bellator soon, and you could be one in Invicta. We could have three amazing women's champions here in the country very shortly.
Absolutely. Yeah, it would be incredible. And Julia is great herself, and I really like Julia and Valerie, of course. I've known her a long time, and she's amazing. So definitely we want to push forward and bring it for the Canadian women.
All right. Well, thanks very much for doing this again. Looking forward to May 4th. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks so much. And definitely just want to say thank you to my team, the Zuma team, my Zuma family, the Rufus Sport team who had me out and welcomed me in, and all the work that I've done with Kush and Duke and Daniel out there. And then definitely Tyler Goodale, my strength coach, Adam Zuchek, of course, and then my sponsors, Seal Supplements, Gilmore Plumbing, as well as TCF Contracting, just local Victoria companies who have been so supportive of my career, and they're just all around amazing people.
Fantastic. All right. We will talk again soon, and again, looking forward to it. Best of luck.
Thanks so much, Jake.
Take care.